Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 9 of Spy Family Season 2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So I guess, this is a bit of a recap for those of us sitting in the cheap seats here. You know, I guess in case you've forgotten about what this whole cruise ship story arc was about, you know, there's all sorts of assassinations going on, or rather assassins attempting to kill people. Meanwhile, Lloyd and Yor are sort of, or Lloyd and Anya rather, you know, they're on the cruise ship too, and they probably shouldn't be. So, you know, I'm wondering if they're just doing this to pad out time, because I feel like, you know, it's good to recap every now and again, quickly and concisely, but seeing as how this is going on for about a minute, and, it's not exactly concise, I feel like, you know, there's a bit of an ulterior motive here. I mean, I guess it's nice to see some of the particularly cool bits from previous episodes, you know. I think that's always nice, you know, you get to show off cool stuff that you went to the trouble to animate properly. So I guess now we pick up where that recap left off. Yor is in a bit of a tenuous situation, because she has regained the will to fight and she's sort of crippled her enemy in that his sword's been somewhat broken. But at the same time, you know, she's sort of injured and worn down, you know. I guess we're meant to believe that it's something of an even fight that could go either way. Although, despite everything, Yor does have one thing on her side, namely Anya, you know. And Anya, she's not super effective in her own right, but I feel like her intervention could be just enough to turn the tides. Now, what's interesting here is that Lloyd, you know, he can't let his instincts go to waste here. It would seem as though there's a bomb on the ship, and you know, he can't just ignore something like that, even if getting involved would bring, you know, perhaps undue scrutiny. I guess scrutiny is better than going down with the ship, so to speak. Now this is, I think, a particularly cunning ploy on Anya's part by, you know, essentially pretending to be a difficult kid, you know, like, hey, I want to keep playing, I want to do it over here, in this area that you will feel safe leaving me while you go handle things. And, you know, of course it's a ruse. Anya's not really interested in hanging out here. she wants to help, but obviously she can't do that with an adult watching over her. Although I do feel a little bad for this caretaker. She doesn't know that she's about to get absolutely baffled. I mean, it's just that simple. You know, Anya puts up this ruse like, hey, you know, I want to bounce this ball around now, I want to draw, and just like that, she's gone. So, I guess by all appearances, that is in fact a bomb, and, this is one of those things where I feel like most people on the ship wouldn't really have the expertise to handle it. You know? So it's one of those things where you don't want to mess with it too much lest it go off. You know, it just happens to be lucky that one of the naval officers here, or one of the officers on the ship used to be in the Navy, rather, and he just so happens to have experience. You know? I mean, it's pretty transparent that this is Lloyd in disguise. But this does add a bit of intrigue to everything, you know. Who planted the bomb and for what purpose? I think it's safe to say we know it's the people after their target, you know. Worst case scenario, just sink the whole ship. But from Lloyd's perspective, you know, he doesn't have any intel about what's going down. That's, generally speaking, not good, you know. If you work for an intelligence agency and they don't have intelligence. So now Anya knows, like, this is basically the act of one man, basically attempting to sink the ship and achieve everything while working alone. That's, you know, kind of underhanded and rather evil, but I guess if you're a hitman, you're not especially concerned about morality. Now, this is an interesting bit right here, and normally it kind of reminds me of this bit of writing advice where, you know, if you're writing, you can never have a contrived situation that gets people out of trouble, but it's okay to have something contrived if it gets people into trouble. And I feel like this is kind of contrived that Anya not only finds Yor's weapon, but is able to basically try and deliver it to her. You know, I'm kind of willing to give it a pass because it's, I mean, it's basically Anya trying her best when she's otherwise powerless to do anything and everything else. You know, I mean, really, she just sort of like tossed the knife up there. It's not really a gigantic achievement by any means. I mean, it is nice to know that these guys, despite being hardened killers, they're keenly aware that if Yor catches them, they are dead meat. But what's unfortunate is that they're a lot closer to their targets than they truly realize. Yeah, now I guess this is a bit contrived too, that, you know, they just so happen to slip and shoot one another and essentially kill themselves. 'Cause I mean, like, the one guy whacked his head on the pipe, you know, the back of his head. That's where a lot of important brain functions do their thing. And then the other guy, he got shot and whacked his head on, like, the corner of, like, a metal casing. That's not good. Like, those are two probably dead guys. And, you know, I guess the upshot here is that Yor now has a weapon. So, if the situation was dire before, it's a bit more even now. You know, it is kind of telling that she was fighting the swordsman entirely barehanded, and now that, she has a weapon, I guess it's kind of all over for the guy. I mean, he did seem to be one of the more competent assassins, but in the end, like, what can he do, really? So I guess it's nice that Anya has confirmation that she was helpful, but, I wouldn't have minded if they sort of let that linger a little bit, I mean, I guess it's easier seeing as how Anya can literally read people's thoughts. So it really does seem like everybody is victorious on all fronts. Our heroes anyway. Lloyd disarming the bomb. You're protecting her clients and not dying herself. And Anya actually, being helpful in her own covert way. I'd imagine there's going to be some fallout if she gets caught by that caretaker, but that's, that's comparatively small potatoes to having the ship you're on blow up. So, that's kind of a nice touch. Yora's almost sort of realizing that something isn't adding up here. Why is my weapon over here? It shouldn't be, but she just kind of dismisses it. I mean, I guess it does make sense. Your first impulse wouldn't be to assume that your adopted daughter is a psychic. Now, despite how well things have been going, it's not over yet. I do believe that patch of blood was to imply that that one assassin who had been shot wasn't quite dead, and he no doubt intends to do something underhanded. So I guess some of the people in charge here, they're making the reasonable assumption that maybe the one bomb wasn't the only bomb. And, I think that's a reasonable assumption too, So, even though things are going well, it's not over yet. Anya knows what's going on now. She knows this guy is definitely up to no good. Man, that was risky. She could have gotten herself in real trouble right there. So I guess what's interesting is that our villain here, he's none too happy about there being a bomb on the boat either. So I guess the real question is, what does Anya do? She and she alone knows about the bomb and the clock. But, can she just defuse it herself? So, that's probably the best possible thing she could have done. Like, hey, can you go check this clock? There's something weird about it. And I guess this guy, he's supposed to be sweeping for bombs. I guess it's nice that Anya was discreet about it, It's one of those things where she knows enough to know that maybe she shouldn't say bomb when there's already been a bit of a bomb scare. So I wonder, what's going on here? Is this going to devolve into an internecine squabble? I mean, pointing knives leads to bad outcomes, generally speaking. I guess it's telling that this would-be bomber was willing to sink the whole ship even though some of his erstwhile clients' friends are on there. You know, that... I imagine that wouldn't exactly earn you favor with your client if you kill some of their friends, too. But, you know, this guy, he doesn't seem to care too much about killing. So, you know, there we have it. As it turns out, there were a bunch of bombs. You know, they've found a bunch, but, not the one in the clock so far. And, you know, this is a rather tenuous situation. Lloyd's the only one who really knows how to disarm these bombs, and, you know, he's one man. And, you know, I guess when you think about it, putting a bomb in a clock like that, that's probably not an ideal place for a bomb if you want to sink the ship. And Lloyd's picked up on that, you know. The idea here is that maybe it's here for assassination purposes. I mean, he probably hasn't jumped quite to that conclusion. He's probably more thinking that this is like a false flag to kick off the hot war. But... yeah, you know, thinking about it, with what little I know about boats and all that, if I were to plant a bomb on a boat, which I absolutely wouldn't do, I would probably do it below the waterline so as to sink the boat. You know, that clock was clearly on an upper deck. It would, you know, blow up and cause a lot of damage, but it wouldn't blast a hole in the boat that would start letting in water. So, you know, this is another bit of contrivance that I do kind of mind. He just happened to throw the bomb in the direction of the would-be assassins. And, you know, it does kind of wrap up things nicely. At least so far as that plot's involved, but, poor Anya. Yeah, you know, she gets no credit. She helped save Yor, she helped find all these bombs, and now she's getting scolded. You know, that really is just something, because, you know, there's no way she could ever tell that caretaker what she was actually doing, and even if she did, there's no way she would be believed. So it's rather telling that even at this late stage, Yor is still being instructed to stay on guard, because, you know, you never know if there's one more. So I'd imagine this is a bit of an unexpected experience for Yor. You know, being thanked, especially in this line of work, considering the people she interacts with normally wind up dead and horribly so, you know. Like, not only is she being thanked by the woman, but by, you know, the child too, functionally. I mean, the little guy's probably too young to really know much of anything, but... I mean, I guess when you get down to it, this is the sort of thing that makes all of the bloodshed worth it, really. And I'd imagine that being reunited with her family will sort of cement that too. You know, she's being told not to let down her guard, but I feel like, you know, that's kind of already happened. You know, he's telling her not to be sentimental either, but I feel like that's, sort of antithetical to what she learned, you know, quote unquote. it wasn't so much that her family was a burden or anything like that, but rather it was the thought of them that allowed her to survive. So, that is kind of nice that ultimately she's getting some time off to see her family and all that. Just, I guess, not to arouse suspicion. Yeah, poor Lloyd. I mean, this was supposed to be a vacation, he didn't exactly bargain for, disarming bombs and running around. And he also doesn't realize that Anya wasn't exactly here the whole time either. It's interesting that he's, unironically referring to them as his family, It's a bit of a hint here, He and Yor have both sort of learned the same thing. Family's kind of a good thing. You know what, this is nice. I think it's very poignant that there's just a little bit of music in the background as basically everybody's sort of getting up and getting ready to go about their day. Sort of secluded and in private, but in preparation for meeting each other again. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.